So in this video I'm going to show you a few things that I've did over the years that made life a lot easier for me mechanicking on things. And the first one is when you get a hydraulic fitting and you can't get 2 wrenches and you can't get it to break loose, what are you going to do with it? Well, a lot of times you can take and tap on that hex and loosen it up, but I'll show you a real easy way that I like to do it. So if you get your wrenches lined up, sometimes you got to turn them a little bit to make them flat. I use a tire bar with a hook in it, made for dismounting tires. If you put that hook right in that second wrench like that and hook it, then just grab a hold of that wrench, hold the ends of them in the palm of your hand and pull on it. You see it break loose? That's how easy it is. So this would be a little better view so you can see how that works again. So you take the crooked part of the wrench, hook it underneath of your other wrench, slide it down as far as you can, hold both wrenches as tight as you can, and push on it. And when you push on it, it'll break it right loose. And it just works every time. That little thing right there was from Harbor Freight for like $8 or something like that. Little tire changing tool, works really well. And I'm going to show you a bunch more that make things easy. So here's another problem with code 61 or code 62 split face couplings. And a lot of times on a haul truck or torque converter housings and things like that, they get pretty tight. So you can see if you was to take a socket, you can get this one, and this one, all 3 of those. But you see this one that's hit underneath of the line, how are you going to get that? Well, Allen wrench, but it's too tall to fit in there. So what do you do with a situation like that? Well, I've got 2 remedies that I use on things like that. The first one is a very short Allen wrench where you can get in there and get that taken loose. But the one that I like the best is this one right here. So what I did was I've taken a small Allen wrench, I took a piece of it, and then I use a ratcheting wrench. And if you set that piece in that ratcheting wrench, hard to do this when you're trying to hold a camera in one hand and do this in the other hand, but if you take that and put that in that wrench like that and you slide that right on top of there, that little Allen wrench will fall right in that socket. I like the ratcheting wrench, and then you can just take that right loose. It works really well. The second thing is that if you always take the other 3 loose first, it'll take a lot of pressure off of that 4th bolt, so that 4th bolt will be easier to get out. So sooner or later, someplace along the line, you're going to find one of these, and if you remember this, it's going to help you. So here's another one for you. You got to get a bolt and get it started way down in some place where you can't get to it, and it wants to keep falling off of your socket when you try to get down to it. So how do you go about doing that? Well, I do have some magnetic sockets, but you know, to have one of every size and you don't know what you're working on or what you're dealing with, actually one wrap with this paper towel, that's a pretty tough paper towel, and stick it down in there like that, that's not going to come out. So if you had to fish it down in some place, way down in there or way back in some place to get it started, that's the way I do. Real simple. So when you're dealing with a piece of hose like this one right here, this is 1-inch hose and it's 4,000 psi, and you can see how stiff that is. And my old scraper blew a hose and I've got to change it, but I found a long time ago an easier way when you're trying to do something by yourself that will help you with a hose like that. Sometimes you have to use two of them, you know, and you pull it in different directions, but these little ratchet straps are your friend. And you can wrap around the hose and pull it one way, and wrap around the hose and pull it the other way. And we're going to change this hose on this scraper, and I'm going to show you how to use it and how to do it. And when you're trying to do something by yourself, even if you had help, it's hard to deal with that, trying to get that to line up. So these things are going to be your best friend. This hose right here is 4,000 psi, and it's number 16. It's 1 inch. And it's got to come up here and make a horseshoe, and it's got to go down into that fitting down there. And I ran into this on a carry deck crane one time, and it wasn't no fun. But the way I deal with them is I take little ratchet straps, like right here. I tied a ratchet strap around it, and I've got it going up here where I can tighten it up to raise and lower this hose. Down on the bottom, I hope you can see this, but when you get down here on the bottom and you look at it, you see where it's got to go right there. That's the fitting. There's the end of the hose. Well, you see I got another one tied around it right there, coming down and going up towards the air tank bracket. So I can pull down on it, and I can pull up on it to arch that hose to get it to go into this fitting right here where it's got to go. It's so stiff you can't bend it by hand and try to get that fitting started. So if you use these little ratchet straps and tie around your hose and pull your hose, you can take and get that hose to bend by pulling up. See, we can get this pulled up here where it belongs and get that, and pull down on this one. We can get that hose to bend to get it into that fitting. It works really well. And if you don't have the right angle, you can always change where you position and tie your tie straps onto it. Use a little block of wood and put a bump in it, you know, to move it one way or the other. But they work really well when you're trying to put a hose on by yourself and you can't get it where it needs to go. If you're going to change a whole bunch of hoses at one time, what I like to do is I take and I number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you look back in here on the valve body, you'll see where I have them all labeled on the valve body where they go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you come up here at the end to where they go, you look down in here, you'll see there's 7, there's 8, there's number 6, over here is number 2. Label all your hoses, and then when you take them off, what I do is I take a piece of tie wire and I wrap 1 round is 1, 2 rounds is 2, 3 rounds is 3, 4 rounds is 4. Twist the tie wire on them so when you take them up to the hose shop to get them made, you always know which hose is which. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same on the other side. Tear them all off at one time. It really makes it a lot easier. The other thing is when you're taking the hoses off, pay attention to which hose you take off first and which hose you take off last, so that when you go to put them back in the same order that you took them off. So just jot down real easy like which one you took off first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. So when you go to put them back on, you don't have so much trouble. Once you get them broke loose, to take this wrench and to be fighting this wrench in a real tight spot like this is usually quite difficult. So what I like to do is I'll take a long crow's foot like this one right here, and you can get down right down in here and put that crow's foot on there, and you can turn that thing loose by hand without fighting that big long wrench. So sometimes, you know, a short wrench works pretty good too, but you take a crow's foot and get it in a tight spot like this, you're going to get that off a lot quicker than you are if you're trying to fight a long wrench. Once you get her broke loose, Usually a little crow's foot works a lot better. So numbering and plugging your hoses, I've been doing it for years, but I got to tell you this story real quick of how it really went wrong. I was working on a twin engine scraper, and I took the hydraulic steering and rebuilt the valve, and I went to put all the hoses back on, and I got two of the hoses wrong. So when you grab a hold of the steering wheel, when we got it running and you turn it to the right, it'd go to the left, and when you turn it to the left, it'd go to the right. So the operator was sitting there waiting for it, and he's a pretty good operator, and he said to me, he said, just leave it like that and let me try it. He said, I think I can handle that. And I thought, man, I really better not do this. And he said, no, come on, let me just try it. So he took off in that scraper, and I was watching him for a little while, and you'd see him, and he'd correct himself. And about 30 minutes later, he come back and he says, you got to change it. He said, I can't take this at all. He said, I just can't handle it. He said, you got to change it back. But he thought he could run it with the hoses backwards, so when you turn it to the left, it'd go right. When you turn it, he got so screwed up when he brought it back. So we changed the hoses and fixed it right. But just another good reason why you always label your hoses so you don't get something in the wrong place. Hope you enjoyed all the videos, and I hope some of them come in handy for you sometime. So thanks for watching.